Your relationship with your boss determines your productivity, it determines your ability to prioritize. It also goes a long way to determine your effectiveness, your influence in the organization, and also how well you can close a lot of times. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue our series on managing your boss, especially if you work in a sales team. Based on the dynamics of working with those who you report to, your team lead, your sales lead, so you can be able to meet your targets faster, rise in the organization in record time. My name is Iyore. We're training over 25,000 salespeople across 5 countries: Nigeria, Ghana, USA, UAE, Rwanda. I'm an author of several books and resources on sales, and I've been featured on a lot of media platforms to talk about successful selling. I worked on an organization where I was given a target to sell to 20 high net worth individuals. I was able to bring in 21 high net worth individuals in a single month. I also participated in a sales competition where I won, and I was sent for the World Cup for an all-expense paid trip. I moved to another organization where I was able to double my portfolio by over 100% in just 11 months. I'm currently the CEO for Ultravantage, and our specialty is in Salesforce management. This means we work with the CEOs, the team leads, to help them optimize results and get their salespeople to produce results faster and in record time. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue from where we stopped yesterday. We had a lovely introduction yesterday, making you understand the balance between saying things like, this boss is partial, this boss is giving leads to somebody else in my office, this boss is not giving me enough leads or enough opportunities. We're able to strike that balance and help you understand that a lot of times you were given the opportunity to prove yourself. You just may not have known. You could have been in something very little, and the boss has probably made judgments based on that. And we also said the importance of taking responsibility for the outcome of that relationship between you and your boss. There are materials to do that even talk about leading your boss, right? Because these are some of the tactics you also use to lead your boss, in quotes. All right, so next point, we said provide a solution after communicating a problem. Now, when you have a team lead, most times it's expected that when there's a crisis or there's an issue, maybe with a transaction. For example, a few days ago, I was doing some work with a real estate company, and all of a sudden, the sales guy was about to close a major transaction, the highest he had ever done in that organization. But there was a crisis. The client was asking for a particular number to show that they had an approved building plan for that real estate company. So he had to move to his boss. That was the crisis. And ask, oh, sir, how do I get this number? And it looked like, he said, talk to my PA. The PA was scrambling around. He couldn't seem to find the number. So that was like a crisis there. So when we meet bosses, we of course, it's expected that there's a challenge. We go to our bosses. Nevertheless, when we go to our bosses with problems, it is expected that we don't go to them with the problems so they can solve the problems. We go to them with the problems and also suggest a solution, so that we can reduce the weight of leadership on them. See, the beginning of leadership is shown in followership. You're going to be a great leader if you're somebody who can follow your boss the right way. And follow in the sense that you want to make it easier for him or her to lead you successfully or lead your team successfully. So whatever way you can take weights or responsibilities of their table, whether in tasks, whether in mental thoughts or mental bandwidth, you want to do that. So in a case where you give a problem and you also provide a solution, you've taken some of the mental weights of trying to come up with options to solve this problem from the boss. And a lot of times, I've seen cases where this helps the organization close sales faster. In this particular scenario, the boss for some reason couldn't find the exact details he wanted, but this person was able to walk around the conversation and look at creative ways to be able to engage this client, and was able to close the deal in record time. So, next point, use the word because. This is my third point. Use the word because. Now, it surprises you what the word because can do in a conversation. The word but means, I like your shoes, but means the first statement I've made has been eradicated. It doesn't matter how beautiful the first statement was. The moment but comes in, B-U-T, the person is waiting for what you're about to say. Because every other thing you said is probably gone out of the window. Oh, I like your shoes, but the sole is too high. What has happened? Your statement about the shoes, that you like the shoes, is gone out of the window. All they remember is the sole is too high. Now, the word because works the opposite way. When you say, I like your shoes because, whatever it is you're going to say after will not really matter so much. But that word because will re-emphasize the fact that you like the shoes. Unlike bots, where what you said was cancelled, and all they will hear is the second part. In because what you said is what they're going to remember so much, the second part may be relevant. I was working with some busy executives a few years ago, and one of these executives in this organization, I was surprised. She said to me, Iyore, one of the reasons why I'm still here amongst all the executive directors, because a lot of them had been told to go, one of the reasons why I'm still here is because every time I go to talk to my MD and I explain something to him, I use the word because. Hey, I was so shocked. I said, what? She said, yes. Every time she meets him and she says, sir, this is the updates on this, that. She says, because. She says that she knows that that's what makes her conversations with him more valuable. So when you talk to your boss, use the word because. Because it will make what you say have more weight. So there's a difference between I like your shoes. That's fine. I could have ended the day. But if I say I like your shoes because they fit you perfectly, the value of what you have said just increased. And there's a lot of scientific research around the word because of time, I may not be able to go into this in a deep way. If you're enjoying this video, please share this video with somebody who needs to watch this right now, who probably is working in a sales team, has a boss, and you know that listening to this will make the person work with their boss a lot better. And who knows, if you want us to come and do some work with your organization, work with your sales teams, even if you're not in this country, we can do the trainings virtually. So all you need to do is just send us an email. Our email is in the description below. Send us an email, then we'll have a conversation and see how we can work with you anywhere around the world. Now, the next point, number 4, be organized. Be organized. And look at managing your boss. Now, the organized person or the disorganized salesperson will always be at the mercy of the organized salesperson. No organized boss will go along well with a disorganized staff. So this means that the boss and the staff, both of you need to align. How? He is most likely organized. You need to become more organized. And there are a few things you do to be organized. Number 1, never listen to your boss without a pen and notepad. You hear people say things like, Shade, come to my office now. And Shade gets up and just runs to his office. I'm just saying. Only for her to get there and he starts to say a lot of things. Then she's trying to keep it in her head. All of a sudden, she forgets some of the details. And she's wondering, I can't go back and ask him the things I said. The things he or she said, or the boss said. Even if I go back and ask, make me look somehow. Because every time you do something that makes you... See, every time you do something stupid as an employee, you know that it drops your reputation and your respect with the boss. So it will be a stupid thing. When I say stupid, slow thinking. It will be a slow thinking thing to go for a meeting with your boss and not have a notepad and a pen. The reason why he's speaking to you is possibly because he wants you to act on something important. And you have to document it for reference purposes. There's nothing as important to a boss like going for a meeting and you make reference to what he said in the last meeting. And that's why whatever notepad you have in the office, you want to create a segment in that notepad that is strictly dedicated for your discussions with the boss. This person we're talking about, this boss, is the most important person to you in that organization because he's the one that determines if you'll be promoted or not a lot of times. So never listen to your boss without a pen and a notepad. And have a particular place, maybe the last page at the back of your notepad. Let it be there that everything that has to do with your boss's conversations, you write them there. So that every time you can go back and make reference to be sure that you're making progress on the things he or she has said. The next thing you need to do to be organized is ask for his or her help to prioritize. Time management is about prioritization. How are you going to manage your time in the office? You need to be able to let your boss help you prioritize the things that you have to do. I've seen cases where as a salesperson, you have targets before you. You have a lot of tasks you have to do, both prospecting and even in-house administrative tasks you have to do at the same time. And in some cases, you don't even have enough time to complete what you have on the table. Yet, the boss still gives you some other activities, gives you some other responsibilities. At this point in time, if you think that just because the boss gave you an additional responsibility, you say things like, let me leave what I'm doing and let me give attention to what the boss has just said, it would affect the performance of the other tasks. If you also think that the tasks that you're already working on are more important and you decide to finish those ones and hold on the one that he just gave you, hoping that maybe when you're done with these ones, you move to the ones he just gave you. It could affect the fact that that one he just gave you be the most important one. So you can never tell, because you're not privileged to the information and the sights that he has. Remember, the eyes are only in the head. This means that whoever is your boss is the only one who can really see how far the team is going, see how far the organization is going, and know exactly what is required to take you there. So you need to go back and speak to the boss and say, sir, which of these should I give priority to now? This conversation I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, is what differentiates between proper time management and poor time management. It's not about writing a to-do list, or a list of activities you need to do. That has its place. But prioritization is key, because there is never enough time for everything, but there will always be enough time to do the things that are most important. And the things that are most important, only the boss can let you know which are most important now. And finally, number 3, with regards to being organized, don't delay in reporting. A delayed report is a delayed result. Because we see when teams work and they bring in sales, they bring in numbers, and the organization doesn't have the figures and details of the outputs, as far as the organization is concerned, nothing was done. Doing work without a report is 0. Work plus reports, excellent. So don't delay in reporting. Don't let it be that for any reason, you're the reason why the team did not send out their reports on time. Become the first to put your report out there. This is how you manage your boss. Number 5, no excuses. No excuses. Bring excellence to your work. Bring excellence to your work. Excuses are good reasons for bad results. Some people say excuses, explanations costing you seniority and excellence. So don't give excuses. I know that excuses are valid, because there are times when there's a situation before you which is true, which is valid. You can tell that, this thing, there's a problem here. We were supposed to go out, but there are no cars available. We're supposed to make calls, but our official lines, there's no airtime anymore. Instead of not doing the work, why don't you practice what we call resourcefulness? Resourcefulness means finding clever ways to get the same things done. There is no car for me to go out, or maybe no fuel in the car. Why don't I use my car? Or why don't I take an Uber or a cab to go out for this meeting? When I get back, I can now send an email to reimburse to the organization, from the organization. Oh, there's no more airtime on the phones. Why don't I borrow airtime from the networks? Or why don't I talk to someone to give me their phone? Whatever, just make sure that at the end of the day, you walk around those seemingly difficulties to produce results. Every major accomplishment in the world today, there were obstacles. It's either you don't get the results and blame the obstacle as the reason, that's an excuse, or you walk around the obstacle to get the results. It all has to do with how your mind works. Under no excuses, on my notes here, I said no typos. When you send an email or any document or any letter, check, recheck, double check. When I see a typo in the document by an employee, I start to question the quality of school the person went to, the quality of education the person had. And don't let that be your case. Avoid typos as much as possible and bring excellence to your work. Number 6, align with the core values. Align with the core values of the organization. Things like getting to work early. I'm going to do a video on how to get to work early, right? I'm actually working on it because it's an exciting topic. Get to work early. Some people don't know how to get to work early. Get to work early. Dress excellently. Dress your best. Don't say things like, my boss doesn't dress, he doesn't wear a tie, he doesn't dress excellently. That doesn't mean you should dress that way. Because let me tell you something. The boss is the boss for some reason. The boss has some level of confidence, credibility that gives him or her leverage in a sales conversation, which you may not have yet. And that's why your dressing sometimes helps you make up for the lack of certain potentials or competencies that the boss already has. So get to work early, dress excellently. Don't gossip about the boss. Gossiping makes you lose favor. If you saw my post on Instagram or LinkedIn TikTok, all the platforms yesterday. I put it out there. I said, gossiping makes you lose favor. Then help your colleagues as well. Help your colleagues. When I say help your colleagues, I'm saying when they're talking bad about the boss, defend the boss. Why are you trying to defend the boss? Because you don't want them to get into the trap of gossiping the boss. Correction upwards is equal to rebellion. And if you look at the scriptures carefully, you see that God hates rebellion. In fact, why did Satan fall from heaven? It was rebellion. So correction upwards is rebellion. You can't be correcting a person who works with you, who you report to. And that's why you listen to this video right now, when you hear people in your office talking funny things about the boss, defend the boss so that they can give him benefits of doubt and you can help them correct their ways. All right, next point. Read his emails first. Read your boss's emails first. That's number 7. Read his emails first. You'll be surprised that some people, they get to the office and instead of them reading their boss's emails first, they just go straight and start reading customers' emails from other staff in the organization. And I'm like, that's a big mistake. I learned it from one of my bosses who seemed to have a fantastic relationship with his own direct boss. And you could tell that every time his direct boss was on leave, she handed over the entire region to him. And she knew how to work with, he knew how to work with his boss, and it inspired me. Part of what he told us, he says, once you log into your email at any point in time, he said, first of all, search with your boss's name so that all his or her emails would appear. And what do? You respond to them one after the other before you now go to responding to whether customers' emails, clients' emails, or anybody's emails in the organization. Number 8, your goal is to understand your boss and not the other way around. I know that you will be misunderstood. Some people say things like, my boss doesn't listen to me. If your boss doesn't listen to you, don't think that it is your right for your boss to listen to you. You're the one who is supposed to make the conditions possible based on your predisposition in the organization, based on how you put to work most of the things I've said so far, such that you become valuable enough to the boss and he wants to listen to you. The boss will listen to people if he feels like what they say, what they bring to the table is of high value to him or her. So if you notice that your boss doesn't listen to you, it will just mean that you may be deficient in some of the things I've spoken about so far. And you want to make those edits and make those corrections now. Now, whether or not he listens to you, I'm not sure that's as important as the fact that you should listen to him or her to understand them. Because when you understand them, they will be willing to later understand you. So this means you don't necessarily have to explain yourself at every point in time. There are times when you're misunderstood, and that takes me to my next point. Refuse to be offended. Number 9. Refuse to be offended. Sometimes you're misunderstood, and it's normal. It's normal. At least we saw the story of Joseph in the Bible. Joseph was misunderstood. And because he was misunderstood, from being a rich kid, having maids and servants, he came all the way to 0, to being a slave, to negative, to being in prison. Because he was misunderstood. Now, even when he was misunderstood, he was still there in prison. Because you're misunderstood doesn't mean that God will come and save you. I'm telling you the truth now. Because see, it's part of life to be misunderstood. So if you're, and I'm not telling you that if you're misunderstood, you should not try and make an attempt to correct it. Try and make sure that you're not misunderstood. But if some cases, for some reason, it cannot be avoided, and maybe you're suspended, whatever form of punishment or queried, receive that query and that suspension with joy. I know it sounds funny, but that is the part of what life is about. We will all be misunderstood at some point. I'm currently in a situation right now where I feel like I've been misunderstood, but I refuse to be offended, right? So I'm thinking about you too. What if you're in that situation and you find yourself in that situation? Don't be offended. Because the cost of offense, it would ruin so much that you have built so far, and I don't think it's worth it. And I want to close with this. Take your boss's special day seriously. If it's your boss's birthday, anniversary, naming, whatever it is, take it seriously. Don't say things like, I can't make myself there. I can't. Find a way to get there. Do everything you can to be there. Do everything you can. Because that day is important to them, remember they are human too. So we as humans, we make decisions based on our emotions. Our emotions guide and drive everything that we do. When people seem disconnected from you emotionally, they get disconnected from you logically. So you don't want that to happen because you see, in the workplace, we make decisions. Everything that's happening in the office, everything that we are doing is about how we're trying to use our minds logically to work and get results. So don't make yourself disconnected from your boss because you've refused to connect to them emotionally about days that are important to them. So ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for listening to this video. I'm sure this blessed you. I've had a lovely time speaking with you. Remember to watch this next video if you haven't. I believe it's going to help you, especially when it comes to navigating workplace politics and how you work in the work environment, especially if you're a salesperson. It's going to help you tremendously. And if you haven't subscribed, please remember to subscribe. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Talk to you soon.